So do you have to access it from the south side or the north side? I mean, come in on that town road on every town road. That's the number, but
It's gonna get a lot more access now that that hospital is in there. People are wandering around there.
yeah, I know.
But it's still in the city limits. At least a boat there.
Get your urban tags.
Well, this might shake him up a little bit.
I just need 1 out of 5 cents.
I'm getting
Great.
It's a relative.
I'm on everybody's list.
I know, I was on a list.
I didn't know that.
Got off that list.
Clear.
In tomorrow.
Are you? Then you'll be off.
Add more.
We did something wrong.
He's 100% convinced.
Where are they?
It's,
It is what it is.
But he says they're nobody's enforced.
really? And I just hate
Sound system work.
Was that a place today? Was that where it was?
The sound system.
So, I had the list. I thought there was two.
These two.
Yeah, well,
I knew these two.
it works.
Got something.
If the person won't voice it all, it's shut off.
Hey, it's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the county meeting to order. Please stand and the Pledge of Allegiance. A moment of silence, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The roll call shows 4 supervisors absent. We do have a quorum. Item 4 is approval of the agenda. I look forward a motion to approve the agenda.
Omar moves.
Wait.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Questions? Okay, we will call a vote. Okay. Okay, it is approved. Item 5, members of the public wishing to be heard. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes. We have one signed up to speak, Chuck Hassemer.
Good evening. My name is Chuck Hosmer. I live at 18993 County Highway GG up in Bloomer. I've spoken at the County Highway Committee meeting and executive meeting last week, so I'm a familiar face to some of you. Others I haven't met. Reason I'm here tonight and have been in the past is to speak about the right-of-way situation on our county roads and state highways. What's happening to them is they're self-destructing in front of our eyes because of the farming practices. Nothing personal against farmers. It's just, it's too much. The ditches are gone. The right-of-ways are gone. If you travel 124, double G, Highway 64, County A, I spoke of this last week. It is imperative that if something is done out there because the road was just paved, I believe, last year, so it's a brand-new road. And the shoulder is only about 18 inches wide, and from there it drops down about 3 feet. And last year's crop, a row of corn was planted into that shoulder material. So there's nothing there to prevent a washout of a brand-new road. And when I stopped to take pictures of it, I literally, my feet started sliding because the shoulder is soft. You can't run the shoulder. You're gonna you're going to end up tumbling down the hill. So that's just one instance. I and my boy, I am not technologically sound when it comes to flying drones and things, but my boy came up this last week. We flew over Highway 64, flew over 124, and flew over County Double G. And of course, I left that at home tonight. Otherwise, I was going to ask anybody wanted to download it, they'd be welcome to. Most of us, I'm sure, know what the right-of-ways are there for. They're there for utilities. They're there, the ditches are there for water runoff. A filtration system. With all the chemical and everything that's being used nowadays, there's nothing left to filter that water when it reaches the side of the road. In 124's case, the liquid manure and without a right-of-way, without a ditch, is being put right up to the road. And I know of 4 different places where I believe McCann crosses it, and I don't remember the other one right now, but there's 4 different places where the streams and creeks go underneath that. And that's where this polluted water is going to end up. So it's going to be detrimental to our ecosystem. The biggest issue follows are at the intersections. The vision triangle, they're planting so far out over to the road and then they're not cutting the corner at like a 45 or even less angle, no matter what it is. They're just planting right up to it. I've got one picture on my phone where my vehicle has to have the front bumper about 3 feet from the center line so I can see north at that intersection. That's insane. That should never be allowed to happen. The county has come up, mowed it down several years in a row, but to no avail. They just keep doing it. And I'm quite sure the county is not charging the particular farms for doing that. So I would like to see things like that being changed. There are laws, statutes. I worked with a gentleman from Rob Summerfield's office down in Madison. His name was Aaron Earlywine. He, unfortunately, is no longer there. He moved on to bigger and better things. But he was very helpful with me last year at this time to look at the statutes, look them up, personally take the time to send them to me. And if it was something that I had a question on that I did not understand, he explained it to me. There's no gray in the way the statutes read. People just don't belong in the right-of-way, period. And to destroy the ditches and stuff, they are actually liable for repairing those ditches and right-of-ways and putting them back to the standards that the county originally did them. I believe, and I have many, many pictures. Anyone, I will hang out through the whole meeting here. If anybody has any questions, wants to see pictures, wants to exchange a phone number, I'm more than happy to do that. I will get the streaming device that we did the video on. I plan on doing more. And I hope that, this can get some attention. I really do believe this time it is. I've been at this for 4 years, trying to get something done here. Just a list of the people that I contacted about this issue is Senator Tammy Baldwin's office, Representative Rob Summerfield, County Administrator Randy Schultz, Road Commissioner Brian Kelly, Sheriff Travis Hakes, local town chairman Pete Hansen in Woodmore. Aaron Earlywine was the biggest help for me in this case. I have been talking to Supervisors Darren Kirby, which is in my district, Pete Gearing, which is a neighboring one, and several other ones, Kerry Ives, many different people here, Jason Bergeron, to try and get my point across. It really needs to be looked into and be dealt with, or we're going to lose a lot of our roads. And I'm not sure the cost, but like $3 million a mile, I think we don't need to do that. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Now move on to item 6, the consent agenda. Entertain a motion to approve.
Flynn seconds.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion, questions? Seeing none, I'll call a vote. Consent agenda is approved. Item 7, we have reports. Move on to Section B, Department Reports, a financial update, 2024 pre-audited and first quarter 2025.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Laura Sweebelover. I can't even talk. I'm the finance director. Yeah, I haven't drank yet today, but good. The night's still young. Oh, that sounds bad. Sorry, not right away. So for this evening, I'm actually going to be talking about 2024 and for all year for 2024 and the first quarter of 2025. So remember that this financial information is pre-audited and I close on March 31st. The auditors have started the audit yesterday and they'll be giving you a final report in August or September. So this time, I really don't plan to go through and talk about all the different departments. There's a lot of information on those following slides that you can refer to. I know I get really boring. You guys don't love all this financial stuff. So please just stop me if you have a question. So I want to remind you that when you're looking at this report, when you're looking at the right-hand side or the right-hand column, the actuals, net gains, and losses, that is for lapsing and non-lapsing accounts. So I'll just go through these. So I just wanted to start out with for closing. So if all of our lapsing funds would have closed the general, or all of our lapsing funds closed to the general fund, we would have increased our non-lapsing or our unassigned fund balance by $2,410,848.42. But to be in compliance with the fund balance policy that we adopted in 2019, we had to also transfer an additional $1,730,893.42. So over on the left, you can see the non-lapsing accounts from the general fund, and over on the right are going to be the fund transfers. So when you got all those fund balance policy transfers and those closing and lapsing accounts, we would have increased our fund balance by $4,141,174.84. But to keep us from having to budget additional funds for upcoming projects or issues, the previous county administrator, Randy Scholes, he actually decided that he wanted to utilize some of those closing funds for future projects. And they're listed on the screen of $3.3 million. So $2.3 million was transferred to deal with the unexpected loss in our self-funded health insurance fund. You know, it's really important to do this so that we can maintain a good, strong benefit for our employees so we can retain and recruit employees. The M&T funding for $600,000, if you recall, that was actually in the plan that Brian Kelly had given, the highway commissioner had given at the February County Board for the M&T projects, and that was in that financial plan he provided. And a new one that we've talked about it, but we've always put year-end funds in the sheriff's department, is we have juvenile detention funds that we have issues with. So we have a case that was outstanding since 2022 for a juvenile that's in a juvenile detention center right now. And right now, as of January of 2025, this actually increased to $150,000 a year for this juvenile to be in there. And we've heard now that hopefully this juvenile will be going to court in 2026. So it didn't feel right to put the whole $150,000 into the sheriff's department budget for that juvenile, because we don't know when we don't know anything really, the court or anything. But so what we wanted to do was actually set up an account, a separate account that would be CA directed, that they would be able to transfer the funds at the end of the year if a department found that they were over budget directly due to the detention of the juveniles. So any questions about that? Okay. So with all those transfers that were completed, coming in and out, we actually increased our unassigned fund balance by $805,741.84. And remember, it's really important for us to increase that unassigned fund balance because it helps us when we bond in the future, because first of all, we're going to look more lucrative to others when we issue the bonds, and also we can get lower interest rates. So those are the reasons why we want to keep doing that. Special revenue funds. Remember that over on the right-hand side, those actual net gains and losses would include any transfers due to the fund balance policy. So public health actually had a net gain of $199,685.82, and that was actually transferred due to the fund balance policy. ADRC and aging also had a net gain, and that was $165,297.27. Human services actually had a gain of transfer, I should say, of $1,276,532.04. And most of that gain was due to the out-of-home placements reduction. But unfortunately, in the last 6 months, we've actually started to see an uptick in that. So hopefully we can get that back down. If you recall, a couple of years ago, we had actually big, large overages due to out-of-home placements. And the last one in the special revenue column, or funds that I wanted to talk about, is down at the bottom. It's called that Fund 250, and that's the NMM Reclamation Fund. It's actually the Non-Metallic Mining Reclamation Fund. This is a new fund that was just created at the end of 2024, and it's because we received some funding from a sand mine who wasn't going to do the reclamation, so the county actually captured the bonding for that was secured for that purpose. And then we put this in a special account at the state investment pool, so it's earning interest, so it can help us with reclamation efforts later on. And here's a little bit more information about those that we talked about. Some of them are, if you notice, I put every single fund in there, a little note about each one. Sales tax review. For 2024, we actually saw a 2.44 sales tax revenue growth from 2023. Remember that sales tax is governed by Ordinance 2-361. And in that ordinance, remember that revenue funds can't be used until the subsequent budget year. So for example, what we received in 2024 for revenues, those will be used in the 2026 budget. Opioid funds. This is all the activity in 2024. Remember that there is only special uses that are approved through the settlement. It's this Exhibit E. So a lot of your policy committees, you'll find the departments are bringing forward. Some of them, Health and Human Services a lot. Sheriff's Department has one. CJS has one. So just so you kind of know that you'll see things coming up in those policy committees. ARPA, we finally are where we want to be. We have a zero fund balance at the end of the year as we planned. We figured that back in March of 2024, that's what we wanted, and luckily it all happened out. And you'll remember that Randy actually gave a presentation in February at the county board about all the ARPA projects and gave pictures and all that kind of thing. The debt service funds, remember these are the annual debt service payments that are for principal and interest. And all those CIP bond payments are usually paid by sales tax funds as outlined in Ordinance 2-361. So at the end of 2024, we actually had an outstanding long-term obligation debt principal of $10,380,000. And over on the right-hand side, you'll see our long-term financing plan. And that's including that M&T projects. Capital projects are when we issue bonds. We actually put the proceeds from those bonds in this account so then they can go out to the different departments that the bonds were for. So if you recall, for the 2024 bonds that we did in September, those were for 2025 and 2026 highway road improvements. Enterprise funds, so we only have one of them, and it's the Land Development Fund. So in 2024, we actually sold one lot in the Lake Wissota Business Park. And some note that I want to make sure to point out is that fund balance is another term for net assets, and it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the amount of cash they have in their account or in that fund. A lot of times there's other assets that they have, such as inventory or machinery, like in the highway department. With this fund, it's actually inventory for the land that we have to sell. Internal service funds, workers' comp, there was actually a loss of $164,299.83, and that was caused by the significant increase that the actuary put for our claims payable. Hopefully that will be cleaned out later. So for health insurance, we actually had a loss of $1,966,542.74. And that was as of March 31st. And you'll see that there's a gain on here because we actually transferred in $2.3 million with the county administrator transfer. Since then, since we closed the books on March 31st, we actually have received more stop-loss reimbursements, which will be accounted for in your final report with the auditors in August. And I have to reiterate that the reason why we did this transfer of funds was to keep this benefit sustainable for our employees. Yes?
I actually have two questions. One goes back to earlier, but on this issue, I recently talked to Mr. Flynn about possibilities of redoing the insurance. And the way we're doing it now possibly might not be best for our future. Are we having any discussions at looking at other options right now?
You mean for the self-funded health insurance?
Yeah.
I know that we're working with our broker right now to look at options of what we can do. Actually, I know Tony, the HR director, will be giving a presentation later about health insurance and some things that we're looking at.
Okay. The other question I have was going back to that youth at
50,000?
That's a lot of money. Can we use any of the money from the settlement to start our own addition to the jail for use for future? Because at 120,000, 130,000 a person, that's going to add up pretty quick. Do we have any other creative ways to handle that locally that we could control our costs better?
Well,
at the future for that?
Actually, I think the challenge that you're going to have is that there's a lot of requirements that you have when you're dealing with juveniles. A lot of times you have to have like psychologists and stuff like that. So that's probably really a hard point for us, that we would have to have additional staff. And I think you're going to have a different kind of facility in order to get them. I know, what county is it that has it now that they're working on building one? Do you remember? There's a neighboring county that's working on that. I don't remember who it was. Trumbull might have one, right? Oh, Marathon County has a juvenile
So
facility.
we can't use any of that money we got back from that opium settlement for
No, that's really, the opioid settlement is really for trying to keep it from the epidemic from growing more and helping the people who do have those issues.
Thank you.
Yep. And the liability insurance actually had a loss, and it's really because of claims, and that claims payable was increased. And here again, I have a lot more detailed information. And the last one that we'll talk about is this is the activity for the dog license fund. Remember, we got to have $1,000 of fund balance as required in the ordinance. Any more questions about 2024? So we'll start 2025. And here again, I'm actually going to be pretty short. I have anything that's highlighted, I do have a note in the back. The one thing I wanted to let you know is the county treasurer, right now, the state investment pool is seeing the March rates at 4.39%. So that's why we're having very good interest rates right now, as we've talked about before. The special revenue funds, it's the same concepts that we usually talk about with public health and ADRC and aging. That it's a month later that we end up getting the revenues in from the GEARS state aid system. The sales tax review, you'll see we only have received January today because there's that 2-month lag for those revenues from the Department of Revenue. So it's really early for us to make any determination about where we think we're going to end for 2025, but hopefully we'll see a good increase again. And for 2025, these are the expenses that we've paid for in the opioid abatement. Debt service funds, remember this is our annual debt payments for 2025. At the end of this year, our outstanding debt principal will be $8,510,000. Then I would assume that in 2026 you're going to be bonding again for 2027 and 2028. And here is the half of the $3.5 million that we bonded for the highway department last year. And the internal service funds, you'll see that the self-funded health insurance is still having a loss. So hopefully we'll be able to find ways to mitigate that. And here are the enterprise and trust agency funds. Really, there's been not anything major to talk about. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions that you come up with later.
And just before you step down, as you know, this will be Lori's last presentation before the board here. And I just would like to recognize her for her long years of service here. The situation the county's in financially is in no small amount based on a lot of the work that Lori has done, her education to people around her, and a presentation for us to understand things. And we'd just like to recognize her for the great job she's done. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And now we'll go on to the 2026 budget review process.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Steinmetz. I am the Assistant Finance Director. Now that Lori has talked about 2024, 2025, we get to talk about 2026. As we'll be kicking off the budget process here after this presentation here tonight. This is the list of the items that we'll be covering here in this presentation. What is the purpose of a budget? A budget really is just a financial plan that's approved by the county board for the next year. For example, here in 2025, you guys will be adopting the 2026 budget. One important thing to mention is that the county's budget needs to comply with state-imposed levy limits when the levy amount is being set for the budget. There are 3 phases to our budget that are listed here. You have the department head requested, the county administrator proposed, which I'll refer to as DH requested and CA proposed throughout the presentation. So. The next few slides here are really just for reference. It's definitions of the different terminology that you may hear throughout the budget process over the next several months. One that I will refer to here in this presentation is that first one, the position-based budget. I'll refer to it. You'll see that throughout the presentation. On this slide in the text box, you can see that the calculation that is done, and that's how the 2025 tax rate was calculated. It's just an example. This slide here is showing that the 2025 budget breakdown. It really is just showing that property tax levy is equal to expenses minus revenues. This slide shows a 5-year history of the county's tax rates, equalized valuations, and property tax levies. The information provided here on this slide came from the 2024 County Fact Book that's published by Forward Analytics. There's a couple of interesting things to note on this slide. In the left-hand column, you'll see Chippewa is bolded there, and it shows the 2.4 tax rate. In 2024, Chippewa County had the 6th lowest tax rate in the state. And that actually was the case in 2023 as well, so. Then moving over to the right-hand column, Chippewa is bolded there again, and you can see that where we had the lowest tax rate in the neighboring counties. Then just another thing to mention is the statewide average there. How that's calculated is by adding all the tax rates for all the counties in the state and dividing it by 72. These next few slides will just cover the roles and responsibilities that happened during the budget process. So the county administrator is required to provide a sales tax plan and a proposed balanced budget to the county board for approval. In DOA, we'll be preparing the position-based budget reports, or the PBB reports. And we will also be coordinating with the county clerk to publish the budget summary in October. Department heads will be responsible to develop a balanced budget consistent with the guidance that will be provided by the county administrator. And then they will all meet with their respective policy committees to review their requested budgets. And then policy committees meet with the respective department heads to review the budgets, and they may make recommendations to those budgets. And they will also then forward on the department head requested budget onto the county administrator. Something to just note and remember is that the policy committees don't actually approve the department head requested budgets. They are there to forward the budget onto the county administrator and on in the budget process. The executive committee serves as the policy committee for the departments listed in bullet 2 there. And then they also receive the county administrator proposed budget to review, and then they make recommendations before it's published and forwarded to the full county board. The county board will review and approve sales tax resolutions to allocate sales tax funds. They will also review and debate the county administrator proposed budget before providing any final comments or changes to the budget before approval. And then one thing to note is that any changes to that they wish to make to the budget, it has to result in a balanced budget. And lastly, the county board will approve a resolution adopting the tax levy. This slide is just a overview of what the budget timeline looks like that will take place over the next 6 months. The next few slides will actually go into each month a little more detail. In May is the beginning of the budget process, so here we are. This is what kicks off the process, is this presentation. And then after tonight's meeting, the county administrator will be sending out the budget letter to the department heads, providing that budget guidance that I had mentioned. And then DOA will be working on sending out preliminary additional PBB costs to the department heads for review. Examples of additional PBB costs would be things such as like overtime or LTE costs or new positions. So those will be provided by DOA. They can review them. They can, submit a request to have changes made to that PBB. In June, DOA will actually send out the final PBB reports with any changes that would have been requested and approved. And these PBB reports will provide all the wages and benefit costs for the departments to build into their budgets. Also in June, the county administrator will present the CIP plan along with the sales tax resolutions to the executive committee and the board. Then come mid-June and through July, the departments will be preparing their budgets and meeting with their policy committees. One thing to note, just once all of the department head requested budgets are submitted to the county administrator by the policy committees, then that phase 1 of the budget process is complete. In August, DOA will be compiling all the budget information and meeting with each department. The county administrator will also present resolutions for any new positions or health insurance rates and wage increases if applicable. In October, the county administrator will present his county administrator or CA proposed budget to the executive committee. And also the budget summary will be published at least 15 days prior to the public hearing as required by statute. In November, the county administrator presents the CA proposed budget to the full county board. And as you can see, there will be 2 county board meetings in November, which we'll talk a little bit more about on the next slide. The first county board meeting in November will be on Thursday, November 6th. This meeting allows the public to make comments about the proposed budget. And then after the after the public hearing, the county administrator will present the proposed budget. And then the last business item is usually for the approval of the budget. And this is where the county board debates and approves and comes to a balanced budget. The second meeting would typically take place on the Tuesday following that first meeting. However, being that it's Veterans Day this year, state statute requires that the meeting be held the succeeding day. Therefore, the second meeting will be held on Wednesday, November 12th. And this meeting is where the resolution will be approved for the levy for the 2026 budget. Then this completes the budget process. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Now we move on to an update on the self-funded health insurance program. Tony?
Good evening. I'm Tony Hofelder, Human Resources Director. I'm going to take us through a health plan update. Chuck had asked if I would put this together. He asked for a little bit of a high-level review, and once I met with Tracy and Lori, we decided to give a little bit more of an overview since in 2022 we moved to self-funded, and really wanted to kind of share in depth some of the things that we've done that have been a little bit different. And so that's what I put together here for you. The very first few slides, so this is a summary of what we're going to go through. It's in your packet. But the very first few slides were in your presentation when I did the county board orientation. And so what I did is I reinserted them just as a reminder. And then what I'll do when I go through them is in red or any updates. So I'm not going to go through all the details so that we don't have to waste time doing that, but I just wanted to point out some changes. So again, these first few slides were in the orientation, and we updated you on the 2022 to 2024, some of the different things we did with health insurance and benefit administration. The only change since we went through this was that we've changed our stop-loss care provider for our health insurance plan. We went from a captive with Sun Life or Pareto, and we are now with a company called QBE, and they're a traditional stop-loss carrier. We were able to save money in 2025 by making a change. The other update here is we talked about during orientation that we were going to do a metric review or a return on investment. Well, that's what we're doing today. So we're going to be able to provide that for you because of the information that we received from our broker in March. And we've had several meetings since March, but March was when they went through the return on investment. So now we're sharing that with you guys. And then when we did this orientation, we didn't make plan design changes yet for 2025. So I just wanted to share with you what those plan design changes were. We updated because of our insurance premium or insurance costs going up, we had to make some changes to the plan design. And so the deductible went up, our out-of-pocket maximum went up for our employees. We reduced the health reimbursement account, the HRA, and then we added an increase to the urgent care copay, emergency room copay, and tier 1 and tier 2 for prescriptions. So all of those changes equaled about 10% of our renewal cost increase in 2025. This was also in the orientation material. This just outlines what that process is for health insurance. Each quarter, we're touching it in some way, and so this is, again, an update on that. The change from the presentation that Jennifer just gave is we no longer call it the PCR, which was a personal cost report because of our update with Springbrook. Now we call it the personal-based budgeting report, the PBB. And then in the bottom there is our renewal history. And so you'll see this isn't what our employees' premiums are. Our employee premiums have always been 0%, other than the WPPA, our union employees. However, this is what the impact has been over time since 2016 on the county's portion of the insurance, all the way through 2025. Our renewal estimate, in 2024 was 15.5%. The county took on 5.5%. The employees took on the 10% with all of those plan design changes. So here's an update from 2024. So 15.5% was our increase for 2024. That was the projection from our broker, Brown & Brown. The county added a 5.5% increase to our PBBs. So all of the departments had that built into their budgets. And then our employees took on that remaining 10%. And then after our stop-loss carrier change from that captive to a traditional QBE stop-loss, we actually came in at 15% instead of 15.5%. So instead of it being a county 15.5% projection, it went down to 15. And then May of 2025, B&B, at the time I put this together, was going to be giving us an update on claims, which we have since had. And then the DOA team, which includes Jennifer, Lori, Tracy, Andy, prior to Andy, Randy, and then 3 of us from Human Resources, Joanna, Christy, and I all attend that meeting. We discuss strategic plan, but we also do claims updates. So we went ahead and did that in May. So here is a good spreadsheet that Lori helped me put together, which is really the kind of the financial picture since we went self-funding. In 2021, when you look to the bottom where it says fund balance, it says that $1.4 million. If for anybody who was still on the board prior to that, you had heard when Randy first came to the county, one of the goals was to move to self-funded because of the potential, the opportunity to save costs for the county. However, he and Lori really wanted to make sure that we had a healthy fund balance before we did that. So we didn't do it right away in 2019 or 2020. We waited until we were able to build that fund balance. And so when we went into 2022, we had that $1.4 million. You'll see in the 2022 line, $7.3 million was budgeted in revenue. What revenue means is that it's the charge out to all the departments in the form of a premium to be able to fund the health insurance account. And that was where the $7.3 million is. The expenses is how all the administrative fees and the claims in the medical claims, prescription claims, all encompassing costs is that $5.9 million. So what was the variance? 1.3 million. That goes then to the fund balance. So when you take that line plus the fund balance from the previous year, you're going to get that $2.8 million. 2023, we started with 2.8 million. The revenue is 8.7, expenses 8.2. Again, another positive variance in 2023. So we ended with a fund balance of $3.2 million. Then we start 2024. And that's where we have we have a revenue of 9.2 million and expenses of 11.2. I don't remember hearing Lori say this in this presentation today, but during the executive committee, maybe you did and I just missed it, but during the executive committee, she explained that the variance of $1.9 million came down to 1.7 after more claims had come in since she had originally given me this information. So just more of an FYI that variance is 1.7 million for 2024. And then Randy and Lori had transferred in $2.3 million at the end of 2024 to keep that fund balance healthy. Had that not occurred, we would have been at $1.3 million at the 1.96, but with it being at 1.7, that would have ended our fund balance at $1.5 million had we not done that transfer in. The reason I point that out is $1.5 million at the end of 2024 is still higher than how we started self-funding in 2021 at 1.4. So we were still at a healthy amount. However, we do know that we're trending to have another 2025 year. So it's still not ideal, but I just wanted to say it's not as bad as if that weren't the fact. So I just wanted to point that out. When we did meet with Brown & Brown, they do a projection for us based on what they're seeing in claims. And they did project that we're going to be a little bit less in expenses, but not much less. So it's still pretty flat. So that's the financial overview. Are there any questions about this? All right, so the next slide is a monthly statement and monthly financials that we get from Brown & Brown. The one on the left is the 2024 statement, and the one on the right is the 2025 statement, both for February. In red, you'll see what our premium equivalent is. And what that means is if it was 100%, that means that our premiums are set exactly as what our claims are that we've been paying. And so you'd want it to be 100% or lower. And that's what it was in 2022 and 2023. You'll see 2024, we're up already in February of 2024, and we're above in February 2025. However, we're a little bit better than we were in 2024. When I got March, after I'd already put this presentation together, it was very similar. So the red was very similar. The other thing I'll point out on here is towards the center where it says 3 members and 2 members. 3 members in 2024 are our high-cost claimants as of February. In February of 2025, it's 2 members. As of March, when I got the report, it went up to 5. So we do have some sick members on our plan. We have cancers. We have some children who are really struggling with certain prescriptions. We do have several high-cost members right now. And our broker, along with the actuaries that work with him, can actually see the claims and understand, if it's a, I'm trying to think of, I'm not a doctor, so I can't think of something off the top of my head, but there's certain conditions that we know are one and done. If somebody has a surgery of some sort, they know it's corrected, it's not going to be an ongoing cost. They look at all of that data, and that's how they're able to make those projections. If it's somebody with cancer, that they have prognosis, it's going to be 3-5 years. That means it's going to be on our plan for 3 to 5 years. So there's all that data goes into some of the data that they provide us. All right, the next couple slides are data that Brown & Brown, our broker, gave us just in May here when they went through the presentation with us. The information on the top left is our annual cost from 2022, 2023, and 2024. You'll see that it's pretty flat when we're looking at the bottom two boxes. It's our claims that jump up, and so that's where you'll see those high cost claims. The next slide in the very center, you'll see that dotted line. That's the norm out in the market in there and other comparable plan sizes like ours. And so we're below the norm. So that's still positive. That's probably why we've been so successful at maintaining very flat increases for the last 10 years, because we do have a population of employees that are very smart and wise and listen to our advice and really engaged with the healthcare things that we're changing. But we're still going up. So that's still, and the line is going up a little bit, obviously, because the cost of healthcare is rising. Another thing to point out on this slide is on the bottom right, you'll see those three colors. There's green, dark blue, and light. What this is illustrating is that our spouses are actually costing the plan a lot more than our employees' independents. And so that's what some of that data is up on the top right, some of those different specifics, and it'll tell us what age spouses are actually costing the plan a little bit more as well. Forgot I had these little buttons on here. All right, next slide. What this is giving us some information on our high-cost claimants. So we're up 90% since 2023. We had really good 2022, 2023, similar to what we had been when we were fully insured. Most claims are in the age group of 40 to 59. In 2023, we had 9 members over that 775,000. In 2024, we had 17. So we almost doubled. So you'll see that, and that's why there's such a difference in that 2024. Our increase is in the high-cost claimants. So what that tells me as an HR director is, what do we need to educate? Do we need to educate employees on, overusage of office visits, or, are they doing things that they could be managing? And the answer really is no. We have cancer. I mean, people can't. We could probably teach about skincare, and do some of those creative things, but it's not really going to hit the pocketbook. And so that's what this is validating, is that we have some high-cost claimants that are really driving these costs. The next set of data on the bottom there is just our members over 25,000. Our broker wanted to see if we had some of the lower high costs, I guess you could say it, and see if those have increased, and they have increased a little bit. But again, it's our big ones that are really hitting and hurting our plan. All right, any questions on our overall health plan before I move forward?
What's the kind of your median age of your group? Is it aging, or are we keeping that pretty much the same year to year? I'm not sure. I've not looked at. I could ask I could definitely run down. I don't know that off the top of my head. Because as the group ages, that's going to increase year after year. So.
Yep.
Okay.
Other questions?
Yes.
Hi, Lori. Intimidating. I wouldn't want to do that. We are aging out as a country, as a community. We're aging out. We were over budget, if I understand correctly, over $1 million. And I'm sure you've done the research. Is this our best option? That's basically what I'm asking.
I work with a broker who's very, very intelligent. They go through all the different options. We beat dead horses in our office trying to come up with new creative things to do. Today, this is what my recommendation would be, what their recommendation is, which is to make some tweaks. We never don't change. I don't think I can remember a year where we haven't tweaked something to try and improve the plan. I don't know what you're asking, though, if there's something specific that you've heard of that.
I'm not an expert in this. I'm trying to educate myself on it. So I just wondered if we went to a standard unself-funded plan, would we do better in the long run?
We will pay more money with a fully insured plan. We were paying more money. What was happening is our claims were way under every year since I started with the county in 2015. But the person who made those funds was Security Health Plan. They gained all of our success in keeping low claims. So that's that's the clear answer. And so that's when Randy came here, he could identify that and see that. And so that's why I think his goal was to make that change. I ask every year, is there a time when it makes more sense to look at fully insured? And he was very assertive this last week and said, no, I would never recommend your plan and your size and the engagement that we have to change to a fully insured plan. We're going to pay more money.
Well, thank you for all that hard work. I can't imagine. Just, thank you.
All right, so the next 3 layers of slides are going to be about the creative things that you're able to do when you are self-funded. If we were not self-funded and fully insured, we wouldn't be able to offer these because it would be an additional cost and the county couldn't afford them. And so what Reform Medicine is a near-site clinic. We've been partnering with them since March of 2023. We did increase usage, so this is a usage slide that shows the total usage. MWL is medical weight loss. And so one of the kind of the key things that Reform Med totes is that if we have medical weight loss, that it will affect all of the other health outcomes from other high risks. It reduces cancer, it reduces heart disease, and reduces those things. So they actually track and give us data on that. All the office visits and then preventative care visits. And so this is just a list of the usage. One of the things that they explained is if we don't get usage, we're going to pay these fees and we're not going to save money because it costs us for all of our members to be part of the Reform Med and have this available to them. And so if they continue to go to their primary care when they go to Oakleaf or to Marshfield or to Mayo, then we're double paying. So to have employees go and members go to Reform Med reduces our costs. And so that's why we're tracking usage. And so year to date from March of 2025 was 5% higher than March of 2024. And what I believe is, it was one of the things I would say is really positive is when we started with them in March, we incentivized them to go by giving them extra dollars. 2024 and 2025, we did not incentivize, but our response rate to them going has went up. So that's a really good testament to our employees. This is just another data point of all the unique utilizers every month since we've started with them. So 847 unique people have went to Reform Medicine, and you'll see kind of the growth of every month. There's always somebody new that goes. This is a snapshot each month. So that doesn't mean that we have 847 of our 1,000 members that went because people come out and off your plan. We have approximately 1,000 members at any given time on our health plan. This is a good illustration of actually end of the year. So end of the year of 2023 and then end of year 2024, how many unique utilizers we had on the plan. So you'll see that 1,000, that dark blue, that's how many members we had. And then the light blue is how many unique members went. I'm a competitive, and so I like to look at data and compare it to our market. And so one of the things that they shared is that other utilizers or other plans within the area that utilize Reform Med have about 60% on year 2, and we're at 62%. So we're still winning the competition, per se, of usage. And again, that's just, I think, because our employees are really open to trying new creative things to try and bring costs down. This is a return on investment worksheet to look at. And so I'm going to, I built in some things to kind of point out. So this that's circled right now is the cost to use Reform Med. That's the rate that they charge times all of our members. So we're paying almost $1 million just to be part of Reform Medicine. This, where the arrow just popped up, is where our office visits. So if our employees were to have went to Mayo, Marshfield, some of the market, the areas in the market, they would have, our plan would have been charged this $800,000 amount that they're not getting charged, or our plan is not being charged today. The next one, which when we did some reference checks before moving to Reform Med, everyone that I talked to said that we're going to make up the difference of the cost just in labs, and this proved that. And so you'll see that the county paid $20,000 in lab work between March of 2023 to February of 2025. But the average that they would have paid is that $1 million amount. So the savings there is 98%. And we were told that they'll charge labs 10%. And we heard employees that were already doing this before we moved to reform. Diabetics, for example, they have to get so many lab tests done throughout the year. They were already making the decision, even on our health plan, because it was saving them so much money to pay out of pocket and go to Reform Med. So of course, once we went to Reform Med, we had a lot of employees here already advocating and teaching their coworkers about this benefit. And so we do have a lot of people who do this. It might be a little problematic if you're still staying in the Mayo system to do your doctoring, because maybe there's a specialist there, which we highly recommend you continue to go to your specialist. But then they'll have to just take a step out, come to Reform, do their lab work, and have it shipped back. It causes some kind of extra work, but our employees are doing it. So that's something that's been really exciting to see. And then you'll see, if you just follow that down, you'll see vaccines and what the savings is. Trying to see, I don't have my glasses on here. Yeah, other sleep studies and tests. We used to have mental health as well, so those are some of the cost savings. And so overall, you're going to see that $1.3 million return on investment. So that's the savings that we're seeing by having Reform Med. And then the very bottom is just another way to look at labs from a count, as well as vaccines. So this has been a success for us. And it's been a good customer service experience, a member experience as well. We've had a lot of positive feedback. However, Alethius, we have had some member experience issues. They've had some administrative issues. This is a care navigation. What this is it's a way for our employees to call a care navigator. If I'm told I need to have a surgery, or I find out I need a mammogram, you call Alethius, and then they tell you somebody that's probably outside of the area, or hopefully inside of the area, but a lot of times it's outside of the area, that's a low-cost, high-quality provider. The administrative issues that we've had with this for our employees has been problematic, so we are looking at other options here, but it still has fiscally been a success. You'll see that second bullet there, that the 2024 cost was $19,000. It's $4.25 for our 385 employees. The county had about 48% utilization, so a lot of employees are still engaging with this to be able to save the county and themselves money, and in some cases making money. So if you have a colonoscopy, for example, that would be free. But if you go to the colonoscopy location that they recommend, you earn $500 to $100 to get that colonoscopy. And it's in Minnesota, Woodbury. And so the cost savings for us, just since October of 2023 through 2024, is $9.30 for every dollar that we spent. So that's $183,000. And then it's just another slide that shows our total unique users versus total employees, and then what that usage was over the month since this report was put together. And then our third, yes.
Just a question in the customer service by the care navigation partners. What are some of the concerns that you were hearing from our employees?
Well, they have a little bit of turnover, and so sometimes they have no idea how to answer the questions that the employees are calling. Turnaround time. So if somebody needs a surgery, they can't wait 2 weeks, or they're calling our office a lot, and then we're having to light a fire to try and get our employees to get a call back. Billing issues where they're made promises, or they're told that this is going to be a low-cost provider, and then it ends up running through the insurance, and they end up with a lot of out-of-pocket expenses that we then have to use and work with the owner. His name is Ross. He's a great guy. He just unfortunately doesn't have the right people under him to help execute his business model. It's a great model. It's just not been working successfully. And he's very well aware of all the things that I'm sharing right now. So if he was watching, he would know that we are not happy. And a lot of local area employers are not happy with Alethius as well.
Thanks.
Yep. Doctors of PT, we started with in May of 2024, so we've been with them about a year. We do not have all the data, so I don't have a lot of data, fiscal data to share. The first 10 visits that our employees go to the physical therapist are free, so it is increasing our physical therapy usage. We pay $150 a visit to Doctors of PT. The estimate in our area, if they were to go in the other providers, would be $200 to $475. So the estimated savings that our broker put together was probably, since we've partnered with them, it's been about $32,802. So this is going to be a benefit that's hard to explain the return on investment because I can't tell you, and neither can our broker, how many people did we prevent going to surgery, right? I could tell you my own story. My daughter had hip issues for a couple years. She had MRI, used SMART scan to be able to do cost. She went to Alethius. Alethius told her that we were going to go to Summit in Minnesota to get her surgery because that's what the ortho said here. But we wanted to do it cheaper, so we went to Summit, and they said, no, we want you to do physical therapy first. So she went to Doctors of PT, and she went, I think it was 7 or 8 visits, and she has not had to have surgery. She's been able to correct it and do the work to be able to prevent the surgery. That's her story. My husband's story, he has hand surgery, just had it today, so he went to Doctors of PT because I told him to, and he was told after 2 visits, PT is not going to fix your arthritis in your thumb. You need to have surgery. So one of the things I liked about hearing that was that they aren't just exploiting the fact that we're paying for this. They might have saw Hofelder on his name, and maybe that's why they did it, but for whatever reason, it was a positive. And there is some other examples within this presentation as well. Here's a list of the total visits. So we have had very good usage. We've heard some that comparatively to some of their first year employers that were very high. You'll see highest utilization partner there. Again, that competitiveness in me. They said that we just have really good response rate from our employees. We could do good communication and they responded well. And then there was some patient case study examples. I'll let you read those on your own, but they're similar to kind of the stories that I was sharing, trying to reduce costs with cortisone shots, reduce surgeries, those types of things. And so there's some estimates there. And then one of the things that we thought maybe somebody would be interested in is what are they going to DPT for? So this is a list of some of the things. I didn't know that somebody who has what did you have? Vertigo. You go to PT. I mean, there's so many things that you can go to PT for that I had no idea about. And so that's definitely something that we've heard of.
Do you also do chiropractic or no?
We do not do chiropractic. Our broker, we've talked about that with our broker. They, at this time, have said that that's not something that they would recommend us doing because it's so low cost. We're not going to be able to save money on a plan with the low-cost providers that we currently have. Where this is so much low cost comparatively to other PT, we're saving money. We did have Northwoods PT get in touch with us when they heard that this was coming, because of course they didn't want to lose business. And we put them in touch with our broker to see if they could come up with a pricing model that was similar to be able to offer a local company something, but they couldn't get as low as Doctors of PT. So there has to be a variable in order for it to make sense for us to pay one provider and steer everybody to that provider. All right, so now we're coming up to 2026, and this is where our new county administrator, our new finance director are going to solve all of the problems. Just kidding. In 2026, these are some things that we are brainstorming. We're brainstorming every day. We've had several meetings. We're going to have another one next week and a week after that. We have our broker putting some ideas together for the first couple options up there, which is potentially shifting a premium to our employees for the first time in many years. And so we're looking at several different options from, single coverage, having it be a lower option, and then having a higher option of coverage, a higher premium for employee spouse, employee child, full family. Because maybe what's happening is we need to steer people to make some different choices. Right now, what we do is we have a lot of employees who have double coverage. They have coverage elsewhere, but they have coverage here so they can get HRA dollars because we have a zero premium. We have a lot of 26-year-old or less than under 26-year-olds with double coverage. They're on mom and dad's plan, so mom and dad can get that HRA dollars even though they already have other insurance. We have people who are Medicare eligible who are still on our plan. So I think one of the things we can do is do some education on Medicare. It's hard to make a change when you have a zero premium. And so some of the things that we're talking about is what does that look like? We haven't made any suggestions or decisions yet, but those are some things that we're looking at. Brown & Brown is doing some, going to get a bid for a new TPA. That's your third-party administrator. We're currently with a company called Ameriben, which is using the Blue Cross Blue Shield Anthem network. There are other options. There's a company called BPA. There's a bunch of other options locally that could still offer employees good discounts for Mayo because we have high usage at Mayo. We did look at steering, or I did. I asked them, can you tell us, would it save us money if we steered people away from Mayo? And what the data showed is our employees aren't abusing the use of Mayo. They're not going there for tons and tons of unnecessary care. It's really our high-cost claimants with cancer, and where else would you want to go, right, is the place that's the best. And so I don't think we'd want to steer them away from Mayo or hurt those people. So that's not one of the list things that are up here, is to steer them away from Mayo because we don't have that abuse going on. Looking at things like spousal surcharges, making sure that employees with spouses are really on our plan. That should be. The risk that you have when you start steering people is, are we going to steer off healthy employees or are we going to steer off the sick employees? And, because you want healthy employees on your plan. If we have all sick employees, then those rates are going to go skyrocket. So we do need the balance of both healthy and sick. And of course, we don't know who those people are, but it's just the risk of when you make change, what could happen to your plan. Dependent eligibility audit, that's not something that we get excited about because there's a lot of work to do that, but it saves employers a lot of money. Christy in our office previously worked at Menards, and they would do one of those every year, and they'd save a lot of money because people were on their plan that shouldn't have been. Spouses who maybe got divorced and they never took them off their plan and shouldn't be on our plan. Children who maybe have double coverage through divorce, those types of things. People who aren't really their children. Just dependents that aren't on the plan. We don't do any validation. We take our employees' word for it when they add spouses or children to our plan. Then just being open-minded to the Chippewa Valley Community Hospital that's coming into play. They are looking for partners, employers that potentially will steer employees to them, and those are some creative things that might come up. I don't know that 2026 is really when, but maybe 2027 or 2028.
So how that affect the other plan that we're in, the Reform Med and the other partnerships are doing?
The community hospital?
Yeah.
That would be completely separate because Reform Med is just primary care. So if it's not primary care, if it's a specialty, urgent, or hospital, it goes somewhere else. Yep. I enjoy talking about this, so I could probably talk a little longer, but I will ask for questions and then I will end.
Any questions for Tony? Thank you very much for putting this together. Now we'll look for the report on the monthly statements of claim filed by the county clerk.
You have the monthly claims in your packet. There was one that was added. Again, if you have any questions on it, reach out to Corporation Counsel. Thank you.
Thank you. On to business items, Resolution 14-25, resolution to declare May 12th through 16th, 2025 as Chippewa County Economic Development Week.
Resolution 14-25, resolution to declare May 12th through the 16th, 2025 as Chippewa County Economic Development Week. Now therefore be it resolved that the Chippewa County Board of Supervisors does hereby declare that Chippewa County, Wisconsin, welcoming and supportive of local entrepreneurship, declare that Chippewa County, Wisconsin supports the activities and efforts of the Chippewa County Economic Development Corporation and recognizes its 34 years of service to the citizens of Chippewa County. Declare May 12th through the 16th, 2025 as Chippewa County Local Economic Development Week. Commend all Chippewa County elected officials, staff, and economic development organizations for their hard work and dedication in assisting and building our local economy. Remind citizens of the importance of the economic development profession in advancing career opportunities and improving the quality of life of Chippewa County. Proclaim that it shall be a goal to grow the economy of Chippewa County by developing the local workforce, partnering with local business organizations, and by capitalizing on investment opportunities that strengthen Chippewa County communities. Be it further resolved that the county clerk is authorized and directed to transmit a certified copy of this resolution to the Chippewa County Economic Development Corporation, forwarded to the county board by the executive committee.
Entertain a motion to approve.
Bomar moves.
Henning seconds.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Invite Charlie Walker to come up and
Mr. Chair, thank you. Board members, we want to just, again, remind us that since 2016, we've been celebrating economic development. All the team, you're part of the team. Economic development is a team sport. And we can go on from broadband to the BDO zone, to the highway infrastructure improvements, to Lake Wissota Business Park. You as a team have been all involved in that, and I want to thank you. Now, the final day of the week is Friday, so we closed tickets for the annual meeting, and I know all of you registered. We're going to have a great speaker and celebrate some of the accomplishments in the past year, so I hope to see you Friday. Mr. Chair, I hope that answers any questions that anyone might have, but if not, speak now, forever. Oh, dear.
any questions?
Thank you. Oh,
Great job.
thank you. Couldn't do it without this team. Thank you.
Thank you. No more questions or comments? Call a vote then to approve the resolution. The resolution is approved. Thank you. Move on to county administrator appointments. The first appointment is the county administrator appointment for Facilities and Parks Director.
Good evening. I'm bringing forth a recommendation to appoint Scott Nobefeld as the new Chippewa County Facilities and Parks Director. You have the full bio in your packet, but I'll just highlight that Scott's had 25 years of progressive roles within Dunn County and is currently the Dunn County Parks and Facilities Director. So I'm happy to make that recommendation to.
We'll entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Now, any further questions or? All right. If none, we'll call the vote then. The appointment is approved.
Mr. Chair, I'll offer Scott an opportunity to speak to the board.
No pressure.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm honored to be here and accept this appointment and become the new Facilities and Parks Director for Chippewa County. Thank you.
The next appointment would be for the Finance Director. Guess first we'll entertain a motion to approve, and then we'll discuss.
Gearing so moves.
Lot seconds.
Thank you. Now we can discuss.
All right. Get that right this time. With Lori's retirement, we have the need to fill the Finance Director position, and I'm proud to recommend the appointment of Leah Symington as the new Chippewa County Finance Director. Again, the full bios in your packet. Leah is currently the Assistant Finance Director in Eau Claire County and previously had been the Assistant and Finance Director in St. Croix County, as well as a stint in Dunn County. So happy to recommend her appointment to the position.
Any questions, comments? Okay, and we'll call a vote to approve the appointment. Okay. Okay, the appointment is approved. Again, invite you up. Like to say a few words?
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. I am very excited to be a part of Chippewa County. As is noted, I do have some county experience. I'm not sure I can solve all of Tony's problems with HR, but I will definitely bring forward my experiences and see what I can do to offer some help on that aspect. But thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm very excited to be a part of the Chippewa County team.
And yet another appointment for the Housing Authority Commission. Guess we'll entertain a motion to approve.
Bergeron motions to approve.
Flynn seconds.
Maybe a motion approved to second.
Yes, I'm bringing forth the recommendation of appointment of Ruth Rosenau to the Housing Authority Commission. Ruth was a longtime director of that organization with a wealth of experience.
Any questions at all?
Yes.
Yes.
About 6 weeks ago, Chuck called me on a Saturday and asked me to step in and help out with a situation that was been very difficult. He had done a good job trying to deal with it, and I wanted to thank him for that. At that point, the day I got approved, the old leader, board chair resigned, and Pam and I were basically the only two people left with new people recruiting. And I encouraged Pam to run for the board chair. And I want to tell everyone that Pam has done a really exceptional job. She has brought on a pit bull for a lawyer, and he's very focused on dealing with the issues. She spent an incredible amount of time doing great work there, and we're on an uphill side. We still got to deal with some federal issues, but I just want to say thank you, Pam, and thank you, Chuck.
Well, thank you too for stepping up as well. It was an interesting situation, and it's on the right path. Thank you. Any more questions? Call a vote to approve then. Okay. Appointment is approved. And one last appointment, an Ethics Inquiry Board.
Yes, there's a vacancy on the Ethics Inquiry Board, recommending appointment of James Sherman, attorney. This is an attorney's position on the board, being vacated by Stephen Cray. Yeah, most of you probably are familiar that Mr. Sherman had 25 years of corporate counsel experience, knowledge about the Ethics Inquiry Board, involved with developing the Ethics Inquiry Board ordinance. So we expect that he would do a good job on that position.
Entertain a motion to approve.
I have some
Second.
questions on that.
Wait, got a second on the motion? Okay,
All right.
Who was the motion?
George.
okay, Nellie.
Is there a conflict of interest with Mr. Sherman being on the, hired on for the Housing Authority and being on the Ethics Committee? I don't know the law on this. And secondary is his close personal experiences with the county board members. Is there any conflict of interest there? I don't know the law. And
It would all depend on the circumstances, really. You'd have to take, depending on who the individual that's being complained against, it may be, it's really hard to say. There's no actual conflict. Just being on the ethics committee itself would all depend on the scenario or the circumstances. And at this point, he's just an alternate. We have to have, there has to be one attorney on the ethics committee, and we have that individual, but we need our alternate needs to be an attorney as well in case something would happen to the normal committee member. So.
What about the conflict of the Carlson and Company's lawsuit that Mr. Sherman was named in?
How is that related to the ethics committee?
I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I don't see any conflict there, simply based on the fact that the county and an individual is being sued in some other matter. That doesn't have anything to do with the ethics committee.
Any more questions?
I guess more of a statement. The times I've seen him address this board, it has been disrespectful, chip on his shoulder. I've would not recommend them on an ethics committee personally. That's my concern.
Any more questions? Comments? Take that, and we'll call the vote. Okay, the appointment is approved, 13-4. Okay. And item 11 is agenda items for future consideration. Again, send things to me. I will engage you on things if you have. On to item 12.
Erickson will make a motion to adjourn.
A motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, take a vote.
Here at the next meeting, we're gonna go into session and we won't be able to get it.
Just stop.
I'm just looking at, right? I'm just
we
gonna
go.
say, yes, we're good.
Now we are.
Good.
Yeah.